Hello there, so this video is for my students. It's about a book review. Today's book review is on this thick book, Persepolis, from Marjane Satrapi. A very good book, a very, very important book that everyone should read someday. Didn't expect that. This is a book I borrowed at the library from my city, and I had heard of this, and I knew it was like a big success, and I wanted to read it then. So this is the story, this is the autobiography of Marjane Satrapi, who was born in Iran, and I didn't know anything about Iran. About the situation. Well, I knew recently, there have been some riots and women have no rights whatsoever. Some women have been killed because they were not wearing the veil and stuff like that. I knew these things, but I didn't know the historical context. So Marjane, she lived her young years during the war, and also during the rebellions, and when the Islamists took control of Tehran and the country. And so she explains it in very acute details what her life was like as a girl and all the rights she was denied. So it's very hard sometimes. Some extracts are very hard to read because as a woman it makes me sad, actually, all these rights that women were deprived from. And yeah, it's always complex to make a recap like this, which is totally improvised. And this woman, well, she was an only child. Her parents are very high educated, so they decided to stay in Tehran because, for immigrants, it was difficult leaving the place, because in Europe, for example, in European countries, they had not the same positions as they used to have in Iran. So their situation was complex, and they had family there. They decided to send their child, so the protagonist, Marjane, to Austria, for her own safety, because Marjane has always been a honest girl, saying a rebel, actually, saying everything she had in her mind. And so they were afraid for her because she was highly educated, and she was speaking the truth. So they sent her to Europe, and it was complex at the time. So it was in the, if I remember well, 89, end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. And I feel so sad for her, all the things she's been through. She had some love affairs, and it turned badly. She was discriminated against because she was from Iran, so people were thinking she was somebody that was bad, actually. But she made some friends, good ones, very bad ones. She was also in need for love, and she fell into traps, and she ended up in the streets for 2 months. So she decided to go back to Iran to see her family and just to be with loved ones. And she wanted to commit suicide at some point because of all the trauma she had been through during the war, all the family members she lost during the war, all the traumatic images she saw during the war, and also about her life in Austria that was very hard, actually. And she never mentioned it to her parents because she thought they had already a lot on their minds with the situation in Iran that was very complex. And well, at some point she decided to marry in Iran, because she couldn't live freely without a husband in the streets. So if you were not married, you were considered as prostitute. And well, her dad knew it was a mistake, and in fact it was. So she decided to get a divorce, and she went back to France, where she followed some studies like artistic studies, and now she still lives in Paris. She is, I think, 50 something, and yeah, and she made her way out of the situation. She felt better, and this time she knew who she was better and where she wanted to go. She couldn't stay in Iran. There was no future for her. This story is so beautiful, so hard, but so beautiful at the same time. And when you think about us, about French people living in France, we are like, we don't realize in our world, we don't realize what other countries have been through or are going through. And see, it's like we are living in a virtual world, or like we are overprotected. And peace is very fragile, actually. We have been living in peace for a while, and we don't realize how fragile it can be, and we always need to fight, actually. This book is in black and white, so I was like, I didn't know if I could read it, because, you know, I love beautiful drawings and pictures. Well, the pictures are well made, but I mean, I love when it's graphic novels in colors, but here it's just black and white. And I was wondering, is it going to be interesting for me? Will I go on with the reading? After all, I was completely absorbed in the book. It's like a film. Well, there was some film about it, and you can't stop reading. You want to know what's next, you know. So go for it if you can. All right, so see you soon, and I hope you understood me and you will be able to recap what I've said. Bye-bye.